hacer una en plano general, para que se vea que estáis en el mismo tema. Se vea RTV, ¿no?
Voy a hacer una así. A ver, mira, voy a hacer una que salga.
Mira, me voy para acá. Ahí, aquí, ¿no?
Los compañeros que entran muy horario, este que tiene que le dar uno por salir de ahí delante del balcón y venir por aquí. Compañero. ¿Vale? Es esto, pero no esto. ¿Vale? Ya termino esta tarea. A partir de la izquierda está la principal, o sea que no se vea. Y no quieren ver encontrarles, porque es verdad que las pinturas, una cosa son los campos que dicen que se hayan claro, pues hay un efecto, ¿vale? Que tiene haber puesto para impactar un rato, que era excesivo y tal, por eso me he puesto dos así, yo voy a quedar, si sale alguien de medio, puede ser caso de pasar por ese razonamiento, cuando suba el Papa, aquí no puede haber nada.
En medio nunca, es lo único, a un extremo o otro extremo. Gracias.
Cuidado que estamos pinchados, ¿eh?
Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praised be Jesus Christ. Welcome to this live-streamed broadcast of Pope Leo XIV's meeting with staff and beneficiaries of the CEDIA 24 Horas social project in Madrid on this first day of the Pope's apostolic visit to Spain, Saturday, the 6th of June 2026. And so from wherever you are joining us, I'd like to welcome you to this live broadcast. Some of you may be joining us through various Vatican media channels, perhaps the Vatican News app or the Radio Vaticana app, the Vatican News web portal, or Vatican News English YouTube channel, or our Facebook live feed. And of course, to all of you joining us through EWTN TV English, Catholic Faith Network in America, Salt and Light TV, Shalom World TV, Atmar Dashan TV, Luminous Radio and Catholic TV, as well as radio listeners of Radio Maria England, Luminous Radio India, Radio Maria Papua New Guinea and other internet sites throughout the world. Welcome to you all. And as we see Pope Leo arriving at the CEDIA 24 Horas, a most warm welcome also to you, those of you joining through our dedicated American Sign Language broadcast, made possible with the help of our friends at Deaf Catholic Youth Initiative for the Americas. My name is Linda Bordoni. It's my pleasure to be with you here today. So as I was saying, it is Pope Leo XIV's first day in Spain, the first day of a 6-day apostolic visit, taking him to Spain. It will take him from Madrid to Barcelona and then on to the Canary Islands, both to Tenerife and to the Grand Canaries. We see here he's arriving on the very first day, setting the stage for a trip which promises to be filled with encounter, with solidarity. Before arriving here at this shelter for homeless people, he met with some 40 people who are disabled or have illnesses, and he comes to bring his closeness, his listening. The CEDIA 24 Horas is a reception and first aid center for people who are experiencing homelessness. It's managed by the Diocesan Caritas of Madrid, and it is located in the Lucero district. The center operates 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and it provides basic services, social support, pathways towards reintegration, in addition to emergency assistance and shelter. It includes supported housing apartments for people who may be making progress in their recovery and reintegration stage. And the support offered goes beyond basic care, and it encompasses vocational training, workshops, individualized intervention programs, comprehensive social assistance. We see Pope Leo XIV entering the center, a small building with a courtyard outside where many of the people who have been assisted by the center staff, volunteers, are awaiting him.
Están acogidos y residen aquí.
So first of all, he is welcomed by the Metropolitan Archbishop of Madrid, Cardinal José Cobo Cano, and by the director of the center. We see him meeting a staff member who is telling him about some of the cases, some of the stories that make up this reality. He's explaining how the center operates and how the assistance provided to people experiencing homelessness is aimed towards reintegration and autonomy. He's walking through the medical assistance section of the CEDIA 24 Horas Center, and hearing first-hand accounts from the people who work there, before later he will also be hearing from some of those who receive assistance from this Caritas-run structure. Already on the flight this morning from Rome, the Pope did point out that this journey was taking place in a spirit of closeness and encounter. He is in Spain, of course, to affirm Catholics in their faith, but also to speak to everyone, to reach out to everyone, because he says the Church has something to say to everyone. He also reiterated his appeal for peace, and he decried the war in Ukraine and the ongoing conflict in Lebanon, and expressed his hope that diplomacy may bring lasting solutions for the good of humanity. Here we see this Caritas staff awaiting Pope Leo XIV in the dispensary, in the kitchen. The Archbishop of Madrid by his side. As I mentioned, Cardinal José Cobo Cano. And a group of residents of the center, volunteers, who have prepared gifts for the Pope, rosaries, and some simple refreshments. Here he is being introduced to the people who work at the center, some of whom have already passed through the center, who maybe have been assisted by other volunteers and staff members, and today find themselves able to give back what they received. shaking hands with everyone. Staff members are wearing their red t-shirts with the name of the center and the Caritas logo. Of course, Pope Leo XIV, being a Spanish speaker, as we know, thanks to his many years spent in Peru, is exchanging in Spanish. The director here we see of the center, he is Juan José Gómez Escalonilla. This encounter will develop in stages. Of course, the Archbishop will address the Pope, as will the director. Here we see them unveiling a plaque which says that on the 6th of June 2026, Pope Leo XIV was here to bless the center and all those who work here and are assisted by this diocesan center. The Pope is taking a seat to sign the Book of Honor with the red Caritas pen. A hum of expectation in the background. And excitement. Pope Leo XIV has chosen to come to this place of hope, of solidarity, of charity, on the very first day of his 6-day apostolic visit to Spain, setting the tone a little of his visit after having addressed authorities this morning at the royal palace, where he was greeted by the King and Queen of Spain. He immediately met disabled people, sick people, and is here in this center of solidarity and welcome. See the Pope stepping out into the courtyard, where members of this very special community are gathered to greet him. Before him is the logo of the papal journey, Alzad la mirada, which means uplift your gaze. This visit, of course, goes beyond words. It is extremely symbolic in the fact that he has chosen to do so right at the beginning of this apostolic visit.
Santidad.
The first greeting is from Archbishop of Madrid, Cardinal José Cobocano. Holy Father, this is the first word, and also the first gesture of gratitude from this Church of Madrid, which journeys at the heart of a vibrant, diverse and complex city. A city whose identity seems always to say, if you are in Madrid, you are from Madrid. Thank you, Holy Father, for being here today. Thank you for being today as well one of Madrid's own. Madrid has always been a city of encounter and of many open doors. Here, a Christian community has gradually been woven together by generations of people who have come from many different places. And today, Your Holiness enters Madrid through a singular doorway, small in appearance, yet immense in mercy. This place has something of Bethlehem about it, a humble corner through which God chose to enter the world. Here in the shadow of this parish, La Cruci, we find ourselves at the crossroads of several neighborhoods, Carabanchel, Latina, Aluche and Lucero. Names that evoke simple lives, daily effort, and a church incarnated in the realities of everyday life. From here, this diocese wishes to offer you the first of the embraces you will receive during these days. An embrace born of the conviction that the gospel is best understood when reality is viewed from the perspective of the least among us. For in places such as this, we learn every day that Christ not only sends us to the poor, but that He Himself becomes present in them. For this reason, beginning in this way is not merely a pastoral choice, it's also a profession of faith that we make together with the Pope. Lift up your eyes, lift up your gaze. This is the invitation that resounds among us today. Yet we wish to do so without losing touch with the ground beneath our feet, with our feet firmly planted in the mud and on the streets where so many people continue to seek housing, dignified work, companionship and hope. Madrid needs this breadth of vision not in order to escape from itself, but to walk forward with greater fraternity and shared hope. Last year, Madrid Diocesan Caritas accompanied nearly 90,000 people through parish initiatives and more than 400 social projects serving families, homeless persons, migrants, young people and the elderly. Consecrated religious communities also sustain a further 300 projects within our diocese. Alongside the many initiatives of the diocesan social ministry and other ecclesial realities, it is exactly the most vulnerable who welcome you first today and show you their affection. From then, receive the embrace of the entire Christian community that walks alongside those living in poverty, offering prayer, closeness, and generous commitment through works relating to housing, food assistance, and employment. Receive also the affection of the more than 9,500 Caritas workers and volunteers, together with the many others who form the rich network of the Church's social ministry, accompanying families, migrants, older persons, young people and those without a home each day. The best person able to explain this project to you, a sign of so many others that form part of your diocesan church, is Mr. Luis Hernández Voz Mediano, Director of Madrid Diocesan Caritas. Welcome, Holy Father, welcome to Madrid through this doorway, one among many, which, like Bethlehem, opens the way to the gospel and leads us step by step from Madrid to heaven.
Querido Santo Padre, es un honor. Como en nombre de Caritas Madrid, le doy la bienvenida a CEDIA.
Dear Holy Father, on behalf of Caritas Madrid, I warmly welcome you to CEDIA, our reception center for people experiencing homelessness. We are deeply grateful for your desire to begin your visit to Madrid by meeting with those who are vulnerable and excluded from our society. This profoundly gospel-inspired gesture by which the last are today placed first moves us deeply and at the same time strengthens us in our mission. Each year, more than 2,500 people pass through this information and reception center, where we are gathered today. They are women and men marked by the wounds of life on the streets, people who've been cast aside, who lack documentation, employment opportunities, or stable housing, often struggling with mental health difficulties, addictions, and the absence of any support network. The average length of stay is less than 3 months. Our days remain open 24 hours a day. We ask nothing of those who come to us. No one leaves empty-handed. We offer what we have: welcome, attentive listening, care and affection, and above all, recognition of the dignity that God has bestowed upon every man and woman by creating them in His image and likeness. We also provide a bed, meals, showers, information and guidance. During their stay with us, participants take part in workshops that foster personal encounters and help initiate a process aimed at breaking the bonds of exclusion to which they have been subjected. The people gathered here today represent many others who are accompanied and welcomed not only by Caritas, but also by other religious congregations and the social pastoral ministries of our archdiocese. We are also joined by representatives of those who accompany and support them. They come from a wide range of initiatives, including programs addressing social exclusion and human trafficking, assistance to migrants and persons deprived of their liberty, support for expectant mothers, protection of families, children, young people and the elderly, health, pastoral care, integral ecology, and many other forms of outreach. Inspired by the power of the Holy Spirit, all of us commit ourselves to encountering these individuals, caring for their vulnerability, promoting processes that can break the cycle of poverty and exclusion. The life stories they share reveal in all their starkness the reality of human suffering and the injustices present in our society. We strive to alleviate these situations, to give a voice to those who have none, and to make visible those who are too often unseen. We work for the kingdom of God and His justice, and for the effective protection of human rights. The people whom we accompany are the true heroes of this story. Through their determination, courage and perseverance, they advance along the path towards social inclusion. The Church offers them significant support, but they are the real protagonists of this journey. They help us to lift our gaze and see reality through the eyes of love and hope. Without further ado, we now begin this meeting, which we have prepared with great affection and enthusiasm. We hope that you will feel at home among us and that we may succeed in conveying the affection and admiration we hold for you. Thank you.
Gracias, señor cardenal. Gracias también, Luis.
Thank you, Cardinal. Thank you, Director of Caritas. We are now going to listen to some of the testimonies of some of those who have been assisted by the CEDIA 24 Horas social project.
Las personas que hoy llenan este espacio lo saben mejor que nadie y han querido estar aquí para decírselo. Permítame presentarle a todas ellas.
Allow me to present
con sus familias, con sus hijos, con sus hijas, buscando un lugar donde poder sostener la vida. Personas también que viven la dureza de la privación de la libertad y necesitan un camino de reinserción y de esperanza. Personas mayores que afrontan también la soledad y que buscan.
He's introducing the people who are here to give their testimonies. So we're going to hear from Niurka. This is Mario Alcudia who is introducing them.
Con incertidumbre y necesitan orientación, acogida y comunidad. Personas que viven con muchísimos procesos de adicción y necesitan
the three people who've been chosen to represent some of the stories that every day cross the threshold of this center.
sin
So we're going to listen to a woman from Cuba. We're going to listen to a Senegalese man who suffered a long and dangerous migration journey. And we're going to listen to Alicia, a volunteer at the parish.
Lleva 5 años construyendo una vida con honradez y esfuerzo. Y la tercera lleva casi 4 décadas eligiendo lo mismo, estar con quien más lo necesita. Primero como voluntaria en este mismo centro que hoy usted
So yes, we're going to hear from a volunteer.
3 historias distintas, pero una misma dignidad. Y la misma iglesia detrás de cada una de ellas. Le presento en primer lugar, Santo Padre, a
First presentation, Niurka. She's 33 years old, a lawyer. She arrived in Spain from Cuba last summer, carrying her story and a quiet strength that never ceased to sustain her. She arrived alone, unemployed, and with her savings exhausted. At her most fragile moment, she learnt that she was expecting twins far from her family in a city that did not yet feel like home. It was the church that welcomed her. Through Caritas, she came to the Santa Barbara home. Here's Niurka. Holy Father, thank you for coming and for drawing close to us. Just over a year, I arrived in Madrid alone, pregnant with my children, and not knowing how I would move forward. I was very afraid, but the church welcomed me. At the Santa Barbara home, I found a family. Thanks to the sisters, the volunteers, and the educators who accompanied me every day, I learned that I was not alone. Here, Ares and Atenea, the twins, were born. Here, they received baptism. Today, I look at my children and know that we can have a future. We are far from our family, but we have a community that supports us. That's why today I offer you this ribbon with their names, like those placed on newborn babies in hospitals. It represents their lives, which were able to flourish in a difficult moment, thanks to the welcome and care we received. And we see Niurka offering Pope Leo XIV the ribbon with the names of the 2 babies. May God bless those who accompany others, Niurka said, Holy Father, for that is where the church is found, wherever it is most needed. And now Mario Alcuzia is going to present us Kadri, a Senegalese man who arrived after a migration journey during the pandemic and found in the church a place of welcome. Today, his story has taken a new direction, from receiving help to offering it, becoming involved in welcoming others in similar situations, as a sign of transformation and commitment to those who arrived after him.
Santo Padre, gracias por acercarse a las personas migrantes.
Holy Father,
Cuando llegué a España,
thank you for being here and for drawing close to migrants. When I arrived in Spain at such a difficult time as the pandemic, I felt I had left everything behind and did not know where to begin. I felt alone. But I found people who welcomed me without asking questions, who looked at me with respect and made me feel that my life mattered.
Hoy pero no. Santo Padre, gracias por acercarse a las personas migrantes.
Holy Father, thank you for being here and for drawing close to migrants. When I arrived in Spain at such a difficult time as the pandemic, I felt lost. I had left everything behind and did not know where to begin. But I found people who welcomed me without asking questions, who looked at me with respect and made me feel that my life mattered. Little by little, I began to trust again, to get back on my feet, and to believe that I could move forward. Today I have a job and have been able to begin a new chapter in my life. I know that God has guided my steps. My wish now is to return to my country for a few days, embrace my family, and share with them how I am doing, because it has not been easy for them either. I also want to be an example to others. That's why I offer you a replica of my residence permit. It represents a long period of waiting and effort, but also a life restored to dignity. Thank you to those who welcome others, for when a person is welcomed, they discover that they never cease to have a place in the world.
Ya ve que es un luchador, ya ve que ha intentado aprender incluso su discurso de memoria y los nervios le han fallado.
He learned his discourse by heart, but his nerves, his anxiety betrayed him, so he had to read it. Now we hear from Alba, a social worker and a she is a volunteer with the project Hope of the Adorers Sisters, which accompanies women who are victims of trafficking and exploitation. Alicia's testimony. Holy Father, I come before you on behalf of the many volunteers of the social ministry of the Diocese of Madrid who live their mission as a humble service to the Church and to the most vulnerable. For us, accompaniment is a concrete way of proclaiming the gospel, being close, listening, caring, and recognizing the dignity, sacred dignity of every person. I always remember Moses before the burning bush when God says to him, "Take off your sandals, from the place where you are standing is holy ground." That is why we offer you these sandals as a sign of respect, service, and of the many paths we have shared with those who suffer most.
Y que son para mí, junto a muchas de las personas que están aquí, un ejemplo de fortaleza. Es gente que se pone en pie, que alza la mirada y que afronta la vida con esperanza. Gracias.
Pope Leo XIV has received the gifts of those representing the volunteers, the beneficiaries of the project, the Caritas workers. And I think now we're going to listen to a short concert.
Pone su arte al servicio de este encuentro con usted. En la víspera de la solemnidad del Corpus, la canción que vamos a escuchar nos recuerda que el amor de Dios se entrega, se parte y se comparte, que no se queda lejos, sino que se hace cercanía y presencia. La canción que va a escuchar se titula Incomparable, ha adaptado un tema original suyo a este momento.
So this song has been especially adapted for this event.
También agradecida por la esperanza y por ese amor de Dios que se hace gesto y acto concreto en cada gesto de acogida. En este lugar, en CEDIA, donde tantas personas han encontrado, como estamos escuchando, ese descanso, pues este canto adquiere un sentido especial.
So this song has a special significance. It's been especially tailored to fit this occasion and to speak of the people who live this reality. Spain, of course, has a wonderful tradition of Spanish guitar music.
Veo la melancolía en tu mirada, pero el Señor derramó su sangre para salvarla. Y ahora que se cae la tarde y yo me quedo sola, no dejo de pensar en ti. Y qué bonito conocerte y tenerte como te tengo yo. Te quiero, mi Señor. Sabes que tuvo que ser una vida inigualable. A veces lloro sin saber por qué. Será porque yo te tengo delante y donde yo te puedo ver, aunque solo sea un instante. Te amo. Agua donde yo puedo beber, eres una fuente inagotable. Tú le diste vida y a mi ser, gracias por ser incomparable. Y en cada sueño te busqué y ninguno fue en balde. Te amo. A veces, mi Señor, a veces siento que me abraza y escucho el eco de tu voz y se derrama tu caridad por los rincones de esta casa. Eres el Salvador. Sabes que tuvo que ser una vida inigualable. A veces lloro sin saber por qué. Será porque yo te tengo delante, porque yo te puedo ver, aunque solo sea un instante. Te amo. Agua donde yo puedo beber, eres una fuente inagotable. Y tú le diste vida y a mi ser, gracias por ser incomparable. En cada sueño te busqué y ninguno fue en balde. Te amo. Viviré una cometa, quiero ser tu nombre en ella escribiré y soltaré con ella tus detalles. Abriré mis ojos al amanecer y llenaré
A moving performance there in true Spanish flamenco tradition. Wonderful guitarmanship, percussions, and this very flamenco voice. Beautiful. She almost broke into dance there. And now Pope Leo XIV. It's the Pope's turn to... He sat down again. Okay, so the presenter's back on stage.
Le invitamos a, por favor, a que nos dirija su mensaje. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, says Pope Leo XIV.
Como ven, yo tampoco he memorizado mi discurso. Entonces, como estamos todos aquí en familia.
We're like here in the family. Your Eminence, Your Excellencies, dear brothers and sisters, I am very happy to begin my visit to Madrid here. As His Eminence said, anyone who is in Madrid is from Madrid. And so, I too am here among you as another Madrileñan. Thank you, Madrid, for this welcome. A welcome which makes me feel part of a large and wonderful family, in which, as in all families, miracles of love take place. This is particularly true in this home, where no one remains alone. Here, each person's joy and sorrow are the joy and sorrow of all. By listening to one another, we face challenges together without disregarding the complexity of situations, and at the same time without neglecting the demands of charity and justice, in the context of dialogue with all those seriously concerned for humanity and for the world in which we live. Thus, CEDIA follows the path of the gospel in the footsteps of Jesus, the Son of God, who became man, not only to heal our illnesses and miseries, but to make them His own, except for sin, living as one of us in weakness, and identifying with everyone who suffers, even to the point of saying, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me. It is in this sense that we can understand the words we have just heard in the song. In every dream I sought you, and none was in vain. They sum up very well the testimonies we have heard and the work carried out here every day. Indeed, thanks to a dream and a small open door, small in size but immense in mercy, as His Eminence said, Niurka has given Ares and Athena life, her motherly love, the grace of baptism, and the promise of a happy future. Thanks to a dream and that same small door, Kadri has made it through the dark tunnel of the pandemic and a journey full of uncertainties. With the help of those who lent him a hand, showing him that they cared for and believed in him, he found a job and above all regained the desire not only to move forward, but also to support others, just as others have supported him. Thanks also to a dream and that same small door. Every day Alicia and the other volunteers at the Hope Project help so many women to start a new life and to regain dignity, independence, hope, and respect for the sacred value of their humanity. The symbols you have given me are also a message for everyone. The ribbon bearing the children's names expresses the joy that every birth brings to the world. The residence permit tells a story of effort and, above all, of commitment, honesty, and welcome. The sandal, which recalls Moses' encounter with God at Horeb, evokes the sacred ground that we are bound to respect in every human life. I express heartfelt gratitude to all of you for sharing your experiences of pain, which are above all full of light and that reflect like mirrors the love of God. Your testimonies open a window onto a vast panorama filled with countless mothers like Nurka, boys and girls like Ares and Athena, women and men like Kadri, and volunteers like Alicia, so many people, so many brothers and sisters, so many stories. These stories are so numerous that, as St. John says, if every one of them were written down, I suppose that the world itself could not contain the books that would be written. This comparison with the gospel is not forced, for the things that Jesus did, the things to which the evangelist refers, continue in these stories. In his remarks, the Archbishop spoke of the path that leads from Bethlehem to paradise. Madrid is also famous for the nativity scenes that adorn the city during the Christmas season. Their beauty, however, is but a pale reflection of an even greater and deeper wonder which we find here today. The lights, voices and sounds that touch our hearts and bring tears to our eyes during the Christmas season are in reality carried within us, with us and among us throughout the year. Today, they are more alive and radiant than ever in this place, around this simple and welcoming nativity scene, which with God's help, you continue to prepare day by day, or literally, day and night, for Jesus, present in the people who come to the center's doorstep in search of help. The words Jesus spoke to his disciples have been chosen as the theme for this visit. Look around you. These words are an invitation to contemplate the fields that now ripe await the harvest, and they remind us that charity permits no delay. If the wheat is not harvested when it is ripe, the harvest is lost. This is our responsibility before those in need. It is a responsibility that consecrates every encounter with another as a kairos, a unique and unrepeatable moment of grace in which to love, which must not be lost or postponed. The love of Christ impels us towards our brothers and sisters, and the charity and concern with which we respond to its promptings are the proof of our faith. If we think about it carefully, in reality, Christians too, on a number of occasions, have succumbed to attitudes shaped by secular ideologies or political and economic approaches that lead to gross generalizations and mistaken conclusions. The fact that some dismiss or ridicule charitable works as if they were an obsession on the part of few and not the burning heart of the Church's mission convinces me of the need to go back and reread the Gospel, lest we risk replacing it with the wisdom of this world. The poor cannot be neglected if we are to remain within the great current of the Church's life that has its source in the gospel and bears fruit in every time and place. Jesus' words are also an invitation to cultivate a heart that is sensitive to the needs of others, keeping alive within us the desire for the good that God has placed in our very humanity, and that faith sets free and strengthens. Pope Francis said in this regard, faced with the mystery of life and the challenges of society, those who believe have a spring in their step, a passion, a dream to cultivate, an interest that impels them to personally commit themselves. He also warned of the danger of a flat, cold heart, accustomed to the quiet life, which is encased in indifference and becomes impermeable. A living heart is warm and beating, and it gives life. A cold heart is motionless, no longer pumps blood, and leads to death. But I would like to highlight one final aspect of the Lord's invitation. It is also a call to look at those who suffer in the eye, and to make our assistance, above all, an encounter between brothers and sisters united in the Father's embrace. Pope Francis also greatly emphasized this point. He asked, "When you give alms, do you look the beggar in the eye? Do you touch his hand to feel his flesh?" And he concluded, alms are not the same as philanthropy. The person who receives the most grace from almsgiving is the one who gives, because he makes himself visible to the Lord's eyes. Those who truly love do more than give alms. They listen, they engage, they try to understand and deal with difficult situations and their causes. They consider not only material but also spiritual needs, and they work for the integral promotion of individuals. And we might conclude by looking to Mary, in whose charity all this finds its fulfillment. In her solicitous love at Cana, longing to follow in her son's footsteps, close and present at the foot of the cross to the very end. To her I entrust each one of you and your work in this land consecrated to her, hoping that the spirit of her universal motherhood may evermore animate the cry of faith. To her let us say, "Teach us to see you always as Mother, fountain of mercy, bosom of forgiveness, embrace of hope, gate of glory." Thank you.
Santidad, gracias por sus palabras. Aquí de verdad se mira con esos ojos del Señor, se mira al corazón de la gente. La cogemos sus palabras como una llamada.
The presenter here thanking Pope Leo XIV for his presence, for his words.
Antes de su llegada en este patio, hemos compartido testimonios, símbolos y música que expresan la vida acompañada por la Iglesia de Madrid. Personas que buscan, los ha escuchado algunos, un nuevo comienzo, voluntariado que camina al lado y una comunidad que quiere cuidar la dignidad de cada persona. Todo lo vivido ha quedado reflejado en este árbol que está viendo usted aquí, el árbol de la esperanza, lleno de flores con los colores de su visita, donde cada flor ha sido escrita.
He's explaining one of the gifts that has been chosen for Pope Leo XIV,
Queremos entregarle también una réplica
the Tree of Life,
como agradecimiento y compromiso de seguir acompañando, seguir cuidando y seguir creyendo que la esperanza puede echar raíces y dar fruto. Y para ello le vamos a presentar ahora a Alba.
It has been created in the occupational workshops of the Addiction Treatment Center of the Caritas.
y que buscan recuperar su vida, sus vínculos y su futuro. Ella representa también a tantas personas que han decidido dedicar su vida profesional al servicio de las personas y de las familias más necesitadas, acompañando con respeto, con cercanía y con esperanza. Y hoy le trae este árbol de la esperanza realizado en los talleres ocupacionales de ese centro.
This is the tree, as I was saying, created in the Addiction Treatment Center of the Caritas, made by hands learning to rebuild their lives and bearing the hopes and wishes of all those present who represent the Church's social outreach in Madrid. It embodies accompaniment, the memory of today's encounter and the symbol that has united the entire event. Holy Father, thank you for being here and for looking closely at this reality. This tree we present to you was made by people who are going through very difficult times, yet who find reasons every day to keep moving forward. At the center, we see how when someone feels listened to, welcomed, and cared for with affection, something begins to change. Trust returns, hope returns. This tree is born from that experience, from small gestures, from hands that learn to believe again, and from lives that gradually open themselves once more. Today, we would like you to take this tree with you. It's a mosaic of hopes, each leaf a wish, each wish a life seeking to move forward. Thank you for remaining close to those most in need. That gives them strength to continue. And this is the gift that Pope Leo XIV has brought from Rome to leave here at the center. It's an icon of Christ, face of love. So with that exchange of gifts, and the Pope, I think, is preparing to bless those present.
Bien, antes de dar la bendición, vamos a rezar por un momento.
So before the blessing, let us pray together. Our Father,
santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino. Hágase tu voluntad en la tierra como en el cielo. Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día. Perdona nuestras ofensas, como también nosotros perdonamos a los que nos ofenden. No nos dejes caer en la tentación y líbranos del mal. El Señor esté con vosotros. Bendito sea el nombre del Señor. Nuestro auxilio es el nombre del Señor. La bendición de Dios Todopoderoso, Padre, Hijo y Espíritu Santo, descienda sobre vosotros y os acompañe siempre. Amén. Felicidades a todos. Muchas gracias por este testimonio.
Pope Leo XIV has imparted his apostolic blessing and thanked all those present for this moving event and for sharing their stories.
Gracias, Santo Padre. Pues va usted ahora a recorrer el pasillo para saludar, creo, a las personas.
Thank you, Holy Father, of course.
Para recibir su saludo y su bendición. Muchísimas gracias.
And we hear a closing song in the background. The Cardinal, the Archbishop of Madrid, accompanying the Pope, who is making his way out of the center, but on his way, he's stopping to greet those present, taking time to write words of closeness for them, shaking hands, listening to more stories. This moving encounter comes on the first day of Pope Leo XIV's 6-day apostolic journey to Spain, which will take him in the coming days also to Barcelona and to the Canary Islands, where he is particularly expected to spend time with the migrants who leave their homes, their continent, Africa in this case, sail up the very dangerous routes of the Atlantic Ocean in search of freedom, in search of a better life, in search of a job, to be able to feed their families, to offer a future to their own children. We see the Pope stopping to exchange words, to give his blessing to the many people who are at the center, to thank him for being here, to thank him for his words of closeness and for his attention to those who are at the heart of the Catholic Church and of the message of the gospel, those who are the most vulnerable, the most marginalized, those who suffer just as Christ did as he became man. The Pope's first day in Madrid does not end with this event. He will be going on to join a prayer vigil in Madrid with the faithful, with young people. Of course, we will be bringing you full coverage of that vigil on these same platforms this evening, on all Vatican News, Vatican Media platforms, on YouTube, on our social media platforms, and by providing the live streamed event of that prayer vigil, as well as we will be providing you with full coverage of the Pope's entire apostolic journey. He's scheduled to fly back to Rome on the 12th of June, wrapping up his 4th apostolic journey abroad, journey taking him to Spain after having traveled to Turkey and Lebanon, to the Principality of Monaco, and to 4 African countries in April. We remember him traveling to Algeria, to Cameroon, to Angola, and to Equatorial Guinea. Taking his time here to shake hands and to make every single person feel part of his attention, blessing babies, thanking volunteers, and just showing his closeness to all men and women of goodwill, in the hope of helping build a peaceful future for humanity. Pope Leo here again, taking his time to say farewell, to thank everyone for this very warm welcome. And we've been following Pope Leo XIV's visit to the CEDIA 24 Horas Center in Madrid, run by the Madrid Diocese. We've been listening to the testimonies of those who give life to this reality of solidarity, of charity, of fraternal love, of welcome, of inclusion. We've been listening to the testimony of a Cuban woman who arrived in Madrid and had nowhere to go, to a refugee from Senegal. And here he arrives. It's a welcome to the parish of the Crucifixion.
Caritas, comunidades parroquiales, congregaciones religiosas, asociaciones, personas que cada día con su dedicación y entrega
all made up of so many people who offer their love, their service, their charity. Thank you, Holy Father, for raising awareness and for the pastoral ministry of the Catholic Church. Thank you. It is wonderful to be here. I'm happy to start my visit with a visit to a parish called Crucifixion. It is not a signal of death, it's a signal of hope, of life, of new life, of resurrection. So, thank you to all those associations represented here. Thank you for your service. This is a true signal of hope in a world that needs the living word of the gospel. We must all feel on our skin, in our hearts, the word of the gospel against that culture of indifference. You offer great possibility to offer a signal of hope to us and to the entire world. Thank you. Thank you for holding up the cross as a symbol of renewal and life, of walking together towards the joy of the resurrection. Thank you. And Pope Leo XIV will again bestow his apostolic blessing on those present.
Aunque en casa también lo podemos hacer, evidentemente, pero unidos así como una gran comunidad.
United this parish like a great community of faith, like Jesus taught us.
Que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino. Hágase tu voluntad en la tierra como en el cielo. Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día. Perdona nuestras ofensas, como también nosotros perdonamos a los que nos ofenden. No nos dejes caer en la tentación y líbranos del mal. El Señor esté con vosotros. Bendito sea el nombre del Señor. Nuestro auxilio es el nombre del Señor. La bendición de Dios Todopoderoso, Padre, Hijo y Espíritu Santo, descienda sobre vosotros y con vosotros remanga siempre. Amén. Pues muchas gracias, felicidades, gracias por este hermoso servicio.
There the Pope was praying together with the community of the parish of the Crucifixion, of the representatives of the many charity organizations that give life to a culture of mercy and inclusion in Madrid, and where he also again imparted his apostolic blessing. Of course, everyone wants to greet him, to thank him. And we have the Cardinal here, the Archbishop of Madrid, just whispering in his ear who the people are, what charities they head or who they work for. All of them representatives of realities that bring solidarity, charity, compassion to the many people in need, be they victims of human trafficking, be they migrants without residence permits, be they homeless people who have lost their livelihoods, be they disabled people who are excluded from working, the many, many faces of a suffering humanity, but the many faces of those who dedicate their lives to bringing the word of the gospel and to bringing concrete assistance to those in need. Here we see the Cardinal Archbishop of Madrid, seems to know everyone, is telling the Pope each person's name, telling them what they do. We can see him succinctly explaining the enormous amount of work that all these people do to bring the word of the gospel, to bring the comfort of the gospel, and to bring help in so many forms, in the forms of a bed, of food, of showers, as we've heard, of psychological support. And here we have, as always, the Pope, who is being led out of the church, out of the parish, but who takes his time to look people in the eye, as we just heard him telling everyone to listen, to try and listen to their stories, and to make sure that every person feels he or she has a place in his attention, in his heart, in the heart of the church. As I was saying, the Pope will proceed to join a prayer vigil this evening, Saturday evening, on the very first day of his 6-day apostolic visit to Spain. This morning, exchanging a few words with journalists accompanying him on the papal flight, he told them that this is an apostolic visit that brings him great joy, that he is very happy to be able to meet with his flock, to share his hopes and his faith with Catholics in Spain, but not only with Catholics, with all men and women of goodwill, he said, because the Church has something to say to everyone. Of course, Vatican Radio, Vatican News, all Vatican media, all of our platforms, our social media platforms, will be bringing you full coverage of this intense journey that takes Pope Francis to Barcelona, and as I was saying, to the Canary Islands throughout the week. On Sunday morning, you will be able to follow a live stream of Holy Mass in Madrid as we prepare to end this live streamed broadcast of the Pope's visit to the CEDIA 24 Horas Center in Madrid. We invite you again to visit the Vatican News web portal, Facebook, Instagram, X, and the YouTube accounts for coverage of all the papal events. And of course, on behalf of Vatican Media, I would like to thank all our sound engineers, our coordinator Alessandro De Carolis, our sound engineer Luca Rossi, and our media partners, EWTN TV, Salt and Light TV, Shalom World TV, Atmardashan TV, Catholic TV, Catholic Faith Network in America, And those of you listening on radio, Radio Maria England, Luminous Radio India, Radio Maria Papua New Guinea, all of you who made this broadcast possible, and all of you, of course, for joining us. And a huge thank you to all of you joining through our dedicated American Sign Language broadcast made possible with the help of our friends at Deaf Catholic Youth Initiative for the Americas. I am Linda Bordoni. It's been a pleasure providing the English language commentary of this event. The presenter of the event here we see is just thanking those who participated and reiterating the openness of the center always to listen to all those who are in need of sharing and of asking.
Son momentos, luego vais a poder subiros si queréis y haceros una foto con el árbol de la esperanza.
And so until next time, Laudetur Jesus Christus, praised be Jesus Christ.